Afternoon. Hope your day is going well. It is a really nice day here in Tucson, but it is getting pretty warm. But I still have my sweatshirt on because the dialysis still makes me so cold. That's just always the way it is, like at least for the first 10, 15, 20 minutes. I wanted to show you something that happened to me while I was getting ready to do my exchange. Now behind me are my boxes, right? Now remember there's the green box, if I can get that there, and then the yellow box. And in each of those boxes are different bags only because the amount of dextrose that lives inside of them can be thinner or thicker. So the yellow bags have less thickness and the green bags have more. Now, when you take your bag out of your box, you always want to check it. You don't want to get it ready way ahead of time normally because you don't want it exposed to the air, even though it is sterile. So let me show you. Here is an example of the bag. Now this is a yellow one. I think you can see it right there. Okay. What happens is they come shipped in the box, taped up in this bag. And what you do is you rip the bag open and you take a look at the bag inside, which I did, and I always do. There are several things to look at. For example, this is an open one. This says July 24th. You want to make sure that the date is not like 2 years ago or something. Which, by the way, Baxter is really good at rotating this stuff, so typically for that to happen would be really, really weird. You want to make sure that it is clear, fluid, that nothing really seems odd about it. And then sometimes you can pull them out of the enclosed bag and they feel a little damp, and that's just because condensation has happened, and that's not a big deal. You just don't want your bag to be leaking everywhere. And I have not had that happen yet. So once you get your bag out and you're about to hang it to use it, you just pull it apart and make sure that everything's kind of connected. So now I have two bags. This is the bag that I will hang up behind me. It's a little difficult. Bear with me. Here's our connector. And I just have to pull these apart so that I will have one bag that goes on the floor and one bag that hangs above me. Now, of course, this is going to be the bag that's going to refill my peritoneum with the dextrose. And this bag is going to be filled with whatever toxins of dextrose I have inside of me, right? So the weird thing that happened are two things. And I'm like, might as well have happened in the same day. That's perfectly fine. First of all, when you use heparin, and remember, heparin is used because you have fibrin in your tube. Fibrin is just the natural thing your body creates in order to fight off any wounds. It's kind of like blood clotting, but it doesn't look bloody. I don't know why. Probably it's made of something a little different than a blood clot, or maybe it's because it hasn't reached the air that it's not red. I don't know, but it kind of looks like a snotty booger. And if you go back in some of my videos, I will show you what it looks like when it's in my bag. So nonetheless, when I disinfect to make sure that everything is sterile, I have to inject into this tube, which is my hanging bag, this little guy. It's like a little pee-pee. And I have to put the Alcavis on here for 2 minutes and let it just sit there. And what it'll do is naturally create a little bubble, like a little dome bubble. And you'll just wait your time, and then you'll use a gauze to go ahead and to soak it up, right? And then you can use your needle from your heparin and inject it into this little bag. Well, I couldn't figure out what was going on because I was like, this bag specific, I was looking at it, and that's very important when you do any of these steps, is that you just pay attention. It's not, you can't or you shouldn't really be in a big hurry, especially when you're dealing with the heparin, just because you want to make sure that you're not contaminating this. Now, when I put the dot on here of the Alcavis, which is a bleaching solution that kills all the germs that could possibly be in the air or somehow contained, I don't know. Nonetheless, you want it on there, right? It kept disappearing. And I was like, how blind am I? Because that's weird. And so as I kept putting more on, I go and do like wash my hands and then come back in and it would be gone again. And I was like, I don't get it. Until I realized as I was watching it that somehow it was seeping into the bag. Yeah, can't use that one. What happens when that happens is you just don't use it. You can't. You got to start all over with a new bag. And that is why it's so important that we have extra ones just in case something weird like this happens. Now, would I die if Alcavis got in my dialysis bag and then I used it? I don't know. But I want to say it's probably not very safe, because what your goal is to disinfect that entrance that your needle that is sterile is going to go into. And so if that's not sterilized, you're just pushing in the germs into the bag and contaminating it. So I just don't think you should ever use a bag that's questionable. That was one bag, and that was yesterday. Today I'm not using heparin. I try to use heparin like every other day because my body still, almost 2 years later, wants to produce fibrin. So I try to kind of use the heparin every other day. Okay, here's my second thing. I got my bag already, or I pulled it out of the container and out of the bag, and then I went to hang it up because everything looked great. And this was just a little bit ago. And when I pulled off this piece, like you just saw me do before, which is normal, it actually popped apart. And my first reaction was to put it back together. No, this is so contaminated at this point. You never want to reconnect. Even though in your heart of hearts, you're like, it's broken, let me fix it. And such an easy fix. And it was just a second. It was like, pull, oh, it's not together. That's weird. Put it together. No. So anyways, those are two bags that I'm definitely not going to be able to use. And that is okay, because again, you should have plenty of dextrose in line in case that happens. And worst case scenario, you can always go to your DaVita center or your dialysis center and say, hey, I need an extra bag because this happened. But that should not happen, because you really need to have extra, because you just never know what could happen. So that was weird. And I've not had that happen. And if you get a box that is really weirdly dysfunctional, please contact Baxter, if that's who's delivering it, and your DaVita center or your dialysis center, so that they're made aware that perhaps that product line has been compromised. Because a phone call to help other people not be contaminated is like saving their lives, really. We just cannot mess around with getting contaminized, especially in our peritoneum, because you don't want to get sick and you don't want to risk your peritoneum and your port and all of that because you decided to just fix the bag instead of casting it away. It's like when you go to the store and you buy a new lipstick and then you come home and you realize it's opened. That's probably not a good one, because I think a lot of ladies would probably wipe it off and use it. Oh, you know what? Your eyeliner. That's it. You don't want to share, this is for the young gals out there, your mascara, your eyeliners, really even your eyeshadows with other people, your sisters, your moms, nobody, because there's so many germs that can happen around the face and the eyes that can really make you sick, like with pink eye. And no boy is attracted to pink eye. Anyways, that was my adventure today. It's so easy to be in the rhythm. And then when something happens that is unexpected, it's so easy to just connect together or not pay attention. And thankfully, I was able to say, my God, where is this heparin at? Like, I know I put heparin on there, and after a couple tries and I realized what was happening, now I know if I ever go back and there's no heparin, I need to double check that I actually got it on that little port, or what the heck is going on, so that I don't get infected. Peritonitis is what you definitely don't want to get in your peritoneum, because sometimes you can actually have to have your port taken out if you get peritonitis too many times. I think 1 or 2 times is pretty human, we're just human. But after like the 3rd time, I think that's like, what are you doing? What aren't you doing should be the question. So anyways, that was my adventure for today. I thought it was pretty interesting. These bags will go straight in the trash. Just get rid of them. So I'm not even hanging on to them to take them back. Sometimes they'll ask you that. I remember one center asked me, like, if there's any flaws in any of your medical stuff, bring it to us. But I'm not going to. And that could be just so that they keep track of what could be going on. But I've not had this ever happen before. So I think everything's pretty much okay. All right, drink your water. Take care of yourself. Make sure you eat some bananas or an avocado. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.